Welcome to Better Together, the podcast where we go behind the scenes on what truly goes on at xrecruiter. I'm Emmeline, and in this series, I'll be sitting down with the people that make everything happen, from leadership to the people behind the scenes, helping our partners succeed every day. We'll talk about how we help recruiters build their own business, what really goes on in supporting our partners, and the stories behind the people doing the work. Today I'm joined by Emma Lamb, our Onboarding Manager. Thanks so much for being here, Em.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Diving in initially, I just want to know about you, right? So tell me, before xrecruiter, what brought you to this point?
Well, previously I started in mining, which was completely different to what I'm doing now. And then I fell into recruitment, as most recruiters do. And I was working for Blake for his agency at Vendito. And then he had started xrecruiter while he was also working with still the Vendito team. And then he transitioned to more focusing on xrecruiter, and he picked me up, and I started there as more of a very support role. Obviously, we were a team of 7 back then. So all hands on deck. It was a startup, and then from there my role has just evolved, and I've evolved with it, and I've just grown to love it.
What was it like being part of Vendito and seeing xrecruiter start from the very beginning?
It was really interesting at the start, watching Blake go back and forth from both offices, trying to give both of his time to Vendito and xrecruiter. Mostly at that time we were all just focused on recruitment. We had no idea of how much xrecruiter was going to take off, but I'm really glad I joined at the start when I did, when xrecruiter was just taking off, because I've been able to grow with the company.
I mean, I don't think anyone knew how big xrecruiter would be, right? So to see it today from, 4 years away after it's launched, it must be pretty cool to have been there the whole time.
And we have a really big team now.
We do. It's huge. So your role, I mean, it's really important. Basically, as a partner signs up, you're the first person they speak to. So it's really the first look into the xrecruiter journey. So tell me about what your role actually is at xrecruiter and how you help the partners.
So when a partner signs up, I give them a call, congratulate them, and welcome to the xrecruiter community. And then my sole position from there, and what my goal is to make sure that they are launching their business and they're coming into this massive transition in their life with confidence and ease and clarity, and they feel supported throughout the entire way. So it's not just making sure, they've got their tech stack or they've got their company registered or their branding or anything like that. It's also making sure, how are you feeling? What do you feel like you're missing? Where do you need support? Everyone is different. It's not, copy and paste for every single recruiter that's starting their own agency. So a lot of the catch-ups I will have pulse checks, which is what I call pulse checks, with the onboarding partners weekly. Sometimes we'll dive into building the foundations of their business, what that looks like for them, where they need the areas of support, and then other times it can just be, how are you going? And I can be more of a therapist, and just listening to them on the other end, voicing all of, the nerves or the things they've got going on with family, and just sort of being that soundboard as well. So helping them, feeling supported, helping them through the journey, also trying to lay the foundations for their business before they launch, so they feel prepped and confident, and they're backing themselves, which is really important. But I also find myself being a little bit of a soundboard and a therapist, and I feel like I'm a friend as well at the end of the journey, which is really special. Actually, because I speak to them, like sometimes they'll sign up, and they won't have launched for a couple of months. So there's months where we've been talking back and forth, and I know the name of their dogs and their kids and what their life plans are and everything. So it is really nice having that relationship with them, but also having a business relationship with them as well.
And I imagine there's some pretty big emotions at that stage, right? I know there is, because I talk to them as well. So at that stage, what are some of the bigger emotions that are coming up for them that you hear about?
I think it's mostly nerves, just with the transition. I think when they sign up, they have, in the first couple of weeks, it's like this light bulb in their head where they've gone, oh my gosh, I'm starting my own agency. This is me. I'm going to have to, do this. And they have all of these sort of nerves and they start to feel it's like really real. And a lot of it's mixed with excitement as well. When I ask, how are you feeling, especially on that first congratulations call, what I hear most is really excited, but also really, really nervous. So it's, and feeling nervous is completely normal, but it's just sort of removing those nerves with instilling confidence in them that they actually know what they're doing. I know what they need to do as well, and just working as a team and making sure they feel supported. And you're still obviously going to have nerves coming into launch day and the first couple of weeks actually operating in business. That's never going to go away. But I feel like there's a healthy nervous and excited rather than just nervous and just overwhelmed and unprepared. And then that's when I sort of come in to make sure that they are prepared and they are supported and they are ready to go into the launch.
Part of the reason why your role is so important is a lot of these people or partners haven't owned an agency before. They haven't owned a business. So it's not only about getting them prepped for the next stage of their professional life, it's also about prepping them for the next stage of their personal life and almost merging that together. Like you said, like you're a sounding board. You talk to partners beyond just the professional scope. You know their dogs' names, you know their partners' names. You get to be an inside part of their life. So that part of the role is really underrated in my opinion, because you're really helping them prepare for their whole entire future, which is really awesome. So what are some of the things, if you were to kind of pinpoint, how do you help partners create a more clear plan for, the more structural parts of their business as they prepare to start?
Coming into when they first sign up, mostly it's the initial tasks and things to get them started that we're focusing on. And then as we sort of dive deeper into the onboarding process, we're getting into what I call the meaty part, where they're getting a little bit closer to the launch and they're sort of in the green zone where it's not too close to the launch, but it's close enough that they're pretty much now fully focused on what they're trying to achieve. That's when I start to look at, pipeline, making sure that they've prepped their pipeline, making sure that they've got a cold call pitch, a lot of basic things that sometimes you forget about in the grand aspect of things, where they're like, I'm starting my business, I've got to think about these, marketing plans and everything. And sometimes they just need to come back to the basic business fundamentals of a recruiter, what they're doing, get them into more of a founder's mentality, but then also keep them focused and well prepped on just the core basic fundamentals of being a recruiter. Because as soon as you launch, the first 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you're just going to be focusing on BD. Mm-hmm. So you want to make sure your CRM is set up. You want to make sure you have a pipeline ready to go, your cold call pitch ready to go. And I do like to also introduce a few of the high performance coaching frameworks that Matt Cosson teaches a little bit earlier on as well, to help them get their heads around it. And then also transitioning that into their CRM as well. So their recruitment process reflects what their CRM is, and how they're going to operate, and getting them into some really good healthy habits. So when they launch, they obviously get handed over to Partner Success, and then Partner Success do an amazing job at mentoring and coaching and being that main support person from there, and they do the high performance coaching, but it's sort of getting on the front load of that and getting them well prepped, coming into that as well.
For the partners that you see setting up really well, creating that clear structure, following the plan with yourself, what are some of the early wins that you're seeing pop up from the ones who are doing that?
So the ultimate goal there is to increase the time to first placement. So obviously when you've started a business, the first placement is, what you're super stressed and excited about, because you just want to get some, money on the board and get the momentum and the traction going. So that's what you want to focus on before you've launched, is already moving the wheels, already getting the traction. So you haven't launched day one with no traction and you're actually starting from scratch day one. You want to have all of these things prepped and ready prior, so you're ready to go.
Are there any big misconceptions you see with the partners starting around what it actually means to start an agency?
A lot of people can think that they are going to start their own agency and they're going to be a business owner and they're going to make a lot of money because they're a business owner, and they take their foot off the gas a little and they don't work as hard as they were prior. And then they don't see those results that they're expecting, and sometimes they can get a little bit discouraged. So I'm always instilling in them, it is you now. You're not being backed by another agency that you're working from. This brand that you've built, this agency you've built, it is you. It's your reputation. And, you need to put in the hard yards. And if you want to scale and you want to build a team, that's sort of the time, the long run, where you can maybe take your foot off the gas a little bit. But definitely not starting your own agency is a time to sort of, I'm an agency owner, and take your foot off. It's definitely a time to slam it down and really get in there and really stay focused and disciplined and consistent with your recruitment process, with what you're doing, with your goal and what you're wanting to achieve, and then everything will follow from there.
So if I'm a partner and I'm 6 to 12 months down the track and I've taken my foot off the gas ever so slightly, if I was working with xrecruiter, just looking from your lens, what do you think are the things that xrecruiter could actually support with if I was one of those recruiters who was a bit reliant on their manager in the past?
I feel like that's where our partner success team come in. By no means are they managers, but they definitely are a key player when that can happen, because life happens. No one's going to be 100% be able to be focused all the time. And I feel like that's where partner success is able to come in, as they've also had a relationship with them for months. Between me and partner success, we've all been talking to them on the daily or on the weekly over the span from when they've signed up. So I find it is really easy for partner success to pick that up and go, hey, I can tell, you've had a really big week. Or a big couple of weeks, what's going on, and be that friend as well. I find the relationships that we have with our partners aren't just transactional. It's not a partner success manager and a partner transactional just business relationship. We are also can be a friend as well. So what's going on, talking them through that, because sometimes it may just be something personal that's going on, that sort of they've taken their foot off the gas because they're focused on other things, or they're a little unmotivated at the moment, or sometimes it can be something related to the business. So it's just having that open conversation, pinpointing where it's actually coming from, and then the team will be able to support the partner in whatever that is, and we'll be able to find a solution, and we're backing all the way.
So not a manager, but there to support you, there to hold your hand, especially when, times are rough. There are natural dips or natural, periods of unmotivation.
100%.
It's just the people side of things.
Life's a roller coaster.
It is a roller coaster. On the flip side, for the partners that you see really excel and really perform highly on a more consistent basis, what are you seeing in terms of their behaviors that make it that way?
Consistency. So I find with the really successful recruiters, consistency is key. So have a really great recruitment process, really refine it, and then just stay consistent with it. You don't need to go out of the box and do all of these crazy things. You can, but consistency is key, and just following that process and being really disciplined with it. When you are a business owner, you don't have a 9-to-5 job. You don't have to be in the office. So it can sometimes be, I can work whatever hours I want, and just getting into a routine and then being consistent with your routine in your personal life, and then also your routine in your recruitment process is the key to a great recruiter.
I really like that, and I think that's really important, which any recruiter would agree. If you're running a sales like desk, consistency is key. And like you said, going back earlier, get back to the basics, right? Because you go back to the basic, pitch frameworks, call frameworks, your own processes, and that's going to win every time over jumping between task to task, jumping between life priority to life priority. In terms of one piece of advice, now I'm really keen from your perspective to hear from the front end. If I was a recruiter wanting to start an agency, what's the biggest piece of advice that you would give for me at the moment?
I would say have a plan. A lot of people go into wanting to start their own agency without an actual plan. And, I'll work on that with them a lot throughout the onboarding process. There's a lot that we cover. There's a lot that we talk about. And then that follows into when they launch their agency and they are speaking with partner success and they have their partner success manager. So that planning it goes on throughout the entire experience with xrecruiter. We never stop planning. We never stop setting goals and aligning them to what they want to achieve. But I definitely think having a plan when you start will give you a better idea of what you want to achieve yourself, rather than asking other people what you want to achieve or working it out along the way. I think it is really good to go, okay, this is actually what I want to achieve in my first year. This is what I want to achieve in my second and my third. And it's going to change most likely. Plans change. You might want to, strive a little bit higher than that, or, it might just completely, you might blow yourself out of the water where you've already achieved that in 6 months' time and you're going to have to readjust your goals. But definitely coming into it with a plan of what you want it to look like, what you want to achieve for yourself, your personal goals, your professional goals, and where you're actually sailing to.
You're right. And what I'm getting from that is that brand is going to be a total reflection of you, not a brand that's kind of built by all these other voices as well. So have a plan. I love that. Yes. My last question, Em, is we talk a lot about better together at xrecruiter. What does that actually mean to you?
Better together is something I've heard for a very long time. Better together has changed me a little bit over the years in a good way. So better together was a little bit different when it was just a team of 7, because we were a very tight group of just 7 people that were working at xrecruiter, and we were a startup. So it was very better together, getting everything done, trying to, build the business. And now better together feels more of an internal ecosystem and a community inside xrecruiter, rather than just like better together, a group of, people with a dream. And now it's more of a entire community with all of our partners we have. We've scaled times 7 or 8. And then also our internal team has scaled as well. So better together means a lot more to me now in terms of friendships that I've made, in terms of, partners, business relationships, the relationships and personal relationships I've had with those partners, and getting to know all of them throughout the onboarding process. And then also in the office day to day, I've made friends for life that, even if we change paths, I'll still be talking to, and I'll still want to know what's going on in their lives.
I love that. That's awesome, Em. And I think it's so cool that you've been here since day one, and now you're here, as such an important part of the team. So thank you so much for joining me.
It's okay. Thanks for having me.
I can't wait to see what else you do at xrecruiter.